What's up, Mortgage Coach community? This is Dave Savage. This is number 9 in our mortgage strategies interview. My goal at Mortgage Coach in the community that we serve is to help upgrade your advice to where the advice you deliver is a competitive advantage in the marketplace. Today, I have Josh Mettle from Salt Lake City. How you doing, Josh?
Grateful to be here as always, brother.
Good, man. Well, you are an absolute rock star in the Mortgage Coach community. Every time I interview you, it's among the most viewed, talked about, liked, shares videos. So thanks for making time, and I'm looking forward to the conversation, brother.
Yeah, my pleasure. Nobody I'd rather spend my Saturday with, Dave.
Oh, come on, man. I'm glad I'm on the list of people that you would even consider spending this precious time with.
Yeah, man, there's like 4. It's Hillary, Xander, Aria, and Dave.
Yeah, right. Well, I know this is for the community because I know you tune in and get a lot of value from it. So I know you like to give back to it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So how are you doing this year, brother? How's production? What kind of volume are you doing? And then let's get into a strategy.
I mean, I don't think I've ever enjoyed life more. We're on a really fun journey. My team's doing fun. They are winning. And so it's a great journey. On the other side, it's not without its challenges. This is maybe very interestingly or ironically, probably one of the most challenging years I can remember in the mortgage industry. This was my 17th year in the mortgage industry. I celebrated that 18 days ago, actually. And I can't remember a time where the team and the value proposition that we offer has ever been stronger. I mean, leaps and bounds of what we were doing just 3 or 4 years ago. And at the same time, I don't remember a year that has been as challenging to get clients to commit. And everybody's feeling that, right? In a raising rate environment, when you quote 5, when the last time you quoted was 4, you're going to get shoppers. So that's just the environment that we're in. And then, of course, the lack of inventory. So it's a fun time. It's a great time. There's business and there's lots of things for us to be grateful for, but it's certainly not without its challenges.
No doubt. And how is your production versus last year? Are you flat, down, up? How are you doing?
Well, gratefully, the team has really, really battled this year, and we've got a lot of support from our ops staff. So we are up. I knew you were going to ask me numbers. So we're up 16.5% over last year to date.
Wow. And how many families served for the year do you think you'll land on?
We're projecting 1,065 clients served, which is going to be a new record for us. Our previous record was 890. Teams working hard to beat 1,000.
Wow. So guys, this is not only one of America's most successful mortgage professionals, but more importantly, just heart of a leader, servant leader, and delivers amazing advice. So Josh, let's get into a strategy. I kind of told you what I'm trying to do here, and you said, I've got a good one. So what does that mean? And whenever you want to start sharing your screen and walking us through it, feel free. But tell us the story and then show us the strategy.
Yeah, let's start with the screen share. Make sure that's working well. You got the TCA up there?
I see it. I see the beautiful family logo, the modern mortgage experience. Love it.
There we go. Well, let me just quickly say that you need to be applauded for the amount of value that you bring to our community. You asked me to come on, and I hadn't seen John Downs's interview that you did with this similar format. I believe he was number 8. And if anybody hasn't watched that, you got to watch it. John Downs gave a ton of value in there. Man, he is a sharp cookie. And then you guys referenced something in there from a Jay Crowell interview that you did with him. And I immediately employed that in I'm like, okay, it's now strategy 1, 2, and 3. Everything else is out. So every time I spend the time and invest the time to tune into what you're putting on, I learn something, I implement something. So like virtual, you're a stud.
Yeah, right on, folks. And by the way, just to connect the dots on that, I'll put a link to the John Downs interview down below, but just as importantly, a link to the whole series. Right now, this is number 9. I don't know if I'm going to do 12, I'm going to do 20. I don't know if there's going to be 100 mortgage strategies. I'm going to create this series until I feel like we have a body of work that can take an average loan officer, a new loan officer, a struggling loan officer, and turn them into a mortgage advisor. So make sure you check out the series. Make sure you check that one out. So what do we got here, bud?
All right, so let's rock. So this was a first-time home buyer, and she had presented me, I've done multiple deals for her family, and she presented me with 6 financing proposals from other lenders. And
love that.
And the lowest interest rate, by the way, this is just this week, the lowest interest rate, by the way, was 4.5%. And we weren't going to get anywhere near 4.5%. It just wasn't going to happen. So we had to go deep in education. We had to get them off of rate, which is really hard, especially for a first-time home buyer with, you know, brothers and family members chirping in. So here's what we did. We said, all right, strategy 1 is just going to be typical loan. By the way, it's a 5% down. Strategy 1 is just going to be a typical MI scenario, which that was this exact scenario I was competing against, a 4.5% rate with MI. The next strategy would be a no MI option. So we've got basically LPMI, little higher interest rate. The payment, interestingly enough, on that was almost equal to the payment that the 4.5% lender with mortgage insurance had quoted. So the payment was about equal there. And then I said, now there's another strategy we should think about, which is your mortgage insurance buyout. So the button on these kids was payment, because it was their first house, and they really wanted their payment to be between $1,700 and $1,800. That was their comfort level. Beyond that, they were kind of getting stretched. They had $30,000 cash. So I knew what I wanted to educate them on was, all right, where do we prudently spend a little bit more money to get that payment down to your payment range? And could we check the box that that's the lowest cost loan? And could we check the third box, which is, could that opportunity position you with the most amount of equity when you plan to sell the home? Which they had about a 10-year time horizon here. So those were the 3 boxes I was trying to check. So strategy number 3 is the only one that really checked the box of a payment about $1,800. Cash to close just a little bit higher. And then strategy 4 was a rate buy down. She says, well, what if we buy the rate down? What does that look like? So as we walked through those 3 strategies, I said, okay, first thing I want you to focus on, of course, is the payment, because that in your mind is paramount. I said, what's more important to you, a lower payment or a lower rate? And there was a pause. She had to think that one through. She goes, well, payment. I said, okay, great. I said, so strategy number 3 has the lowest payment. This is, again, is a strategy where we buy the mortgage insurance out up front, so you don't have to pay that monthly anymore. And I said, let's look at the cost over 5 years. And you'll see that of all these strategies, the lowest cost is the MI buyout option. It's even a lower cost than the 4.5% rate the competitor was quoting with their monthly MI. So I said, we certainly have the lowest monthly payment and the lowest cost over 5 years identified with strategy number 3. I said, now let's look at it at a longer time horizon, because you told me that you're going to be in the house 7 to 10 years. I said, so in 10 years, what does that look like in terms of the total cost of each of these loans? And I said, oh, interesting. Strategy number 3 comes out ahead. So it's the lowest monthly payment. It's the lowest cost over 5 years. It's the lowest cost over 10 years. I said, we only have 1 box to check less. You're not going to think about this going into a mortgage, but you're going to be glad we had this conversation when you sell the home in 10 years. Which strategy is going to give us the most amount of equity? And so we got down into the more info. I jumped into the more info tab here with her and said, all right, this is how this works. Let me walk you through the numbers. If you look at appreciation in Utah over the last 30 years, it's been 4.1% as an average. So if we take that 4% average and we forecast that over the next 10 years, your $325,000 home is going to be worth $481,000. Your loan balance on option number 3, which seems to be the horse in the lead at this moment, your loan balance is $250,000. And I said, so get switch option gives you the most amount of equity or net worth. Come to the very bottom. What's the difference? $230,000 in equity by year 10. So let me ask you a couple questions. Can you afford an $1,800 payment? Yes.
Yes.
Is the cash to close just under $20,000 comfortable for you? I think that leaves you with about $10,000 in case of emergencies. Is that a comfortable cash to close? Yes. Do you have any other way to save $230,000 over the next 10 years? Could you do that just out of your current income and payroll if you were just saving money in a savings account? No. We have a winner. We checked all the boxes. We had the lowest monthly payment. We're comfortable with our cash to close, and you're going to have almost $250,000 in tax-free gain when you move on and buy your next home. And I think this is the right strategy.
So guys, picture this. If you're on the other side of this, you're a buyer. Do you think the competitive loan officer delivered this type of transparency, this type of educational experience that kind of knew all the goals, knew the dreams, and was then able to like deliver this kind of experience? You know, it's doubtful. By the way, Josh, I was, following along over on my other screen here. And when you click the more button, it popped up on my screen. So, it's just a great reminder that, for everybody on this call, if you're on the phone with a client, make sure that you're using Mortgage Coach Live so that they're following along and you're driving that experience. Anything else you think that's important? Just, think of yourself as, hey, I am a leader to the Mortgage Coach community right now. I'm giving them management advice. Anything else that you think is important for them to learn or take away from this case?
Yeah, I'll give you 2 tips that because I saw 6 or 7 proposals she sent me. So I'll just give you 2 tips. The first thing was the majority of the other proposals did not have the amount of seller paid closing costs in their proposals. They didn't have her earnest money in there. And they weren't all that impressive. I mean, they were just they looked like somebody just threw numbers out and really didn't think through it. Almost the impression I got was they just vomited out a fee proposal and said, here's the rate I have. And as soon as we started going deeper and saying, hey, I just want you to know how accurate these numbers are, by the way. This is right off your purchase agreement. I'm showing who's paying what closing costs. This is within $100 of what you can expect the day of closing. It's that accurate. And if it's off more than that, by the way, I'll cover it. So that's number one. The other proposals were kind of just terrible. And they didn't look good because of it, because they didn't have any of that. And then the other thing was we actually did get her on an Edge Live, and we did go through each of these more info tabs together. And when you do that and it takes control of the other person's screen and they go, whoa, are you moving my computer? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to guide you through here if that's okay. They're like, that is just bitching, right? They're blown away.
Right. Wow, education. So guys, just think about that. Josh was competing with a lender. By the way, not a lender, multiple lenders, which is not uncommon. It's never been easier to rate shop. It's never been easier to get proposals. And he won because of his advice, his experience, and the accuracy of his advice. So let's face it, again, my opinion is this rate shopping storm that we're in is not a storm. It's not going through it. We're in the eye of the hurricane. I mean, it's the new norm. It's not going to get harder for people to shop rates with real estate companies getting in the mortgage business, with the future of, Amazon in the mortgage business. If you want to kill it, you need to upgrade your advice. You need to go from having rate and fee conversations to hopes and dreams conversations. And then you need to let the family know that you listen to their hopes and dreams by delivering a total cost analysis. So Josh, you killed it, as I expected you would. Any last words of wisdom for the community? Any suggestions, recommendations?
Well, I would just say that, this is fun. Like for me, this is so much fun. I got to build something and create value, and I kind of just rolled through that. But this was a 30-minute dialogue when I was actually on the phone with her. And it was just a ton of fun, because at the end she's like, no, man, that works. Like you're the only one who's gotten me to a payment to $1,800. The cash is good. I still have several months reserves. Like this is cool. She was jazzed. She was excited. It was the first time in the transaction that I remember her being excited. And it was like she wrapped her arms all the way around. She got it. That's my cash to close. That's my payment. Can we close in 17 days? And it was like, boom, we are on to the races. So I would just say it was a ton of fun to take the time and to really, educate a little bit.
Well, I love how that last thought of fun, because that is the other thing about being an advisor versus a rate quoter or an application taker or a problem solver, is that when you are a mortgage strategist, when you are a mortgage coach, it just makes the job more fun, more gratifying. And yes, you get better conversion, you have less price exceptions, and you get more referrals. So I hope everybody watching this got value. If you are a mortgage coach member and you don't feel like you're a black belt in advice, watch this series of interviews. It's a playlist. It's called Mortgage Strategies. This is number 9. Make sure you go through these. If you're new to the business, I literally don't think there's anything more valuable than just going through these mortgage strategies. Learn from the best loan officers how to ask great questions, how to create great solutions and strategies for families. If you are not a mortgage coach member, go to our website, sign up for a demo. Josh Mettle, I am so grateful for you, brother. Have an awesome weekend. And if you think of another good strategy and another time that you want to jump on a call for 10, 15 minutes and bring another strategy to the community, you know that you've always got to, you just tell me when and where and I'll be there, brother.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you. Great hanging out with you as always.
All right. Have a great weekend, man.
Cheers.